What if you could get your hands on the heart of a PlayStation 5, but without buying a PlayStation 5? What if I told you that this weird looking board right here has a cut down version of the same chip that powers one of the most popular consoles in the world? Well, I got one, and I decided to do something crazy with it. I built my own custom console. Hey everyone, what is up? Welcome to Forge Now, and to my very first video. My name is Zico, and for the past few weeks I've been obsessed with this thing. It's called the ASRock AMD BC-250. Let me walk you through this board. So we have two USB 2.0, one DisplayPort, two USB 3.0 and 1 gigabit Ethernet. And M.2 slot. We also have an CMOS battery slot, an 8-pin PCIe connector, standard one, and you also have here the VRMs on the back under the shield. This board is a super weird piece of tech. It was originally designed for crypto mining and packed into these huge servers. And the crazy part is, it's powered by a cut down version of an AMD APU found in the Sony PlayStation 5. These were the chips that didn't quite make the cut for real consoles, so instead of getting thrown away, they ended up here. So of course, I had to ask the question, can this failed PS5 chip actually game? So I bought one, sourced a bunch of parts, and built this. This is the BC250 APU. The code name is Ariel. It's a cut down variant of the APU found in the PS5. It has 6 Zen 2 cores and 12 threads, up to 3.4ish GHz, as well as 24 CU RDNA2 iGPU, codename Science Killfish, as opposed to the 36 available in the standard PS5 Ariel SoC. Under this metal shield, there's the memory shared between the GPU and the CPU. It comes with 16GB GDDR6 memory, and by default, it comes either in two configurations, either 8x8 shared between the GPU and CPU, or 4GB and 12GB. But it depends on your firmware. Some cards ship with 3.0 and some cards ship with 4.0. You will see it later in the video. It's actually shown in the BIOS, and you have to flash a custom firmware on it to actually unlock this feature. But some people use a tool to flash the firmware, but in this video I'm gonna share a way using the USB drive to flash the firmware, so it's easier for everyone else to try and replicate. And I ended up designing the case for the BC250 that houses the components, for example the power supply, the fans, the board itself, and we ended up with this. If you notice, the card itself is made to be like a blower fan card style. So basically it takes air from the fan on the back and dissipates it from the rear, from here. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna modify this to be an open fan design, so we can use two 120mm fans to cool it. So basically I 3D printed these scoopers that lets you straighten the heatsinks fins to basically make it open. You can check here how the fins are open. And now we can use two 120mm fans to cool it down, but we're gonna use a fan hub. I was planning initially on using this Silverstone fan hub, but I changed it and used these extension cables because they fit in virtually anything, and that Silverstone was gonna take so much space in the case, so yeah, I did that. So for the power supply, I ended up using this super slim 360 watt power supply. It's basically used for cameras and LED lights, but it's sufficient for the BC250 because it uses around 220 watt, but this is 360, so it's more than efficient. And you can use any standard ATX power supply, but it's up to you if you wanna use our case. I made this diagram to connect the PCIe 8-pin express connector to the power supply. And now we're gonna connect everything up for booting. So here in the BIOS you can see that the version is 3.0, but for you it might be 4.0. That's why we're gonna modify the firmware into unlocking these special settings in the BIOS. Here you can see it in the chipset GFX configuration. In the UMA frame buffer size, we can change the RAM configuration from 256 to 12 gigabytes. I'm gonna link the files and the PDF in the description. So I ended up using Manjaro Linux, which already supports Mesa 25.1.6 that supports the graphics on this card. I ended up benchmarking using different software. First one was superposition. And we ended up getting 7,000 points in OpenCL at 1080p high settings. And now we're gonna use FerMark 2 to benchmark at 1080p high settings. We ended up getting 60 FPS at 1080p high settings throughout the whole test. Inside we have two 120mm fans that exhaust the air from the top to the BC250, while the 90mm knock-over fan exhausts the air from the top also to dissipate the heat outside of the case. Then we have the power supply on the rear. It has its own fan that also dissipates the heat from the side. So that is the BC250 board in a nutshell. I hope this overview was valuable for you, as this is the first video on my ForgeNAM channel. Your feedback is super important. If you learned something new today, hit the like button and subscribe and turn on your notifications so you're the first to know when I release my next video. I've got a lot more planned. Thanks for being here from the beginning. I can't wait to see you in the next one.